Hey there, it's Kathy. Let me turn the air conditioner off so it doesn't make so much noise there. It's Kathy House from Be Creative with Kathy. I apologize. First of all, I said I'd do a video about 1:30, and here it is 3:30, and I'm finally getting to it, so I'm a little bit late. You'll have to forgive me. But as promised, I'm going to show you how I made this card here. Now, this was a swap that I did for August, beg your pardon, well, and September. It's kind of two swaps, but anyway, and it's using these new Abundant Beauty Decorative Masks. Now, if you're saying, hey, Kathy, I've never seen those masks, I can't find them in a catalog, you're absolutely right. They're new, and they'll be available this Wednesday, September 6th, when this catalog goes live. So I can't show you the inside of the catalog. We have to wait till it goes live, but trust me, they're in here, and you can order, like I said, starting September 6th, which is this Wednesday. The other thing that Stampin' Up! Is releasing Wednesday the 6th is some designer series paper. This is a while supplies last, so order it now, don't wait. But these designer series papers coordinate with some of the bundles that are in the catalog too. The best thing about this, at least what makes me order Wednesday, September 6th, is that they have some adhesive back glimmer paper that's in silver and gold. That's also in the special releases. So like I said, it's all while supplies last. You don't want to miss out, so make sure you check out my online store, which the link will be below. September, I gotta get it in the right month, September 6th. So let me show you the masks real quick, and there's a bunch of them in here, and I'm only going to use 4 of them today, but there are some, that's packaging, there's some background masks in here. There's the houndstooth, isn't that what that called? To me, this just reminds me Halloween, although you could use this for a lot more than just Halloween. And then you have the leaves like this. I think that's really pretty, especially you could sponge and get those leaves in different colors. And then they have the really pretty snowflakes. So like I said, I just started playing. I haven't used it. I don't have a sample for those. Well, let me show you. I wasn't going to show you because it's not finished, but let me show you a card. I just started. This will give you another sneak peek of what's in that catalog. This is a bear set. Cute as a bear, barely cute, something like that. But look, I used those snowflakes in the background with a little bit of embossing, and then I did the color over it, and I masked the bears. But that's a start of playing with those masks. I think if they're going to be popular, I think that I'm going to use those quite a bit, hopefully. Fingers crossed, we'll see. Excuse me. So here's the sunflower, and the cool thing about the sunflower is it's like 2-step stamping, only it's 4-step masking, and it has this little like notch in the corner with the number 1. I don't think you can see the number 1 on screen, but that way you know which one goes first, second, seeing those little notches line up, and I'll show you how to use those in when I make the card. So let's keep these out. Let's put these away. Before I start on the flower though, I'm going to prep everything real quick. So you can see here, first we need this little label. There you go. Come on, Kathy, use your words. This little label here. This is some Lost Lagoon cardstock that I cut from these, what are these called? Something Fancy dies. Now I used this little die right here. It's the second from this one. That makes sense. Love these dies because look at, this one's got tape all over it. How you can do the kind of 2-step die cutting like that. But like I said, I used the second one of the smallest one of this one, and I cut out that in advance. If you're not sure how to use your die cut machine, you can go check out a bunch of videos out there, even on my channel, and see how to use your die cut machine. I wanted to save a little time, so I did that in advance. Now, if you're interested in the Something Fancy dies, just know it has a stamp set that coordinates with it, so you can buy the bundle and save 10%. But I'm not going to use this stamp set today. I want to use that layering leaves. I love the font on these words here, so we're going to use this Sending Hugs right there of the layering leaves. So I got my paper ready. It's a small piece of paper. It was easier to cut first because, like I said, I did this with a swap, and when you have a little piece like this, you can cut 2 or 3 at a time. Hold on, got a cat problem here. Okay, he's happy. So I have them already cut, like I said, and I'm going to stamp after I cut them. But I'm going to make sure I have my tweezers so I can hold it, and then my little brush from my embossing additions kit or whatever it's called, and then I'm going to use my embossing buddy and get all the static off of that paper so that when I stamp on it, the embossing powder only sticks to the ink. Okay, and I've got my Versamark ink, and I have my stamp here. So I'm going to ink that up good. And then while I'm doing this, I have to tell you twice now. I don't know what is with me if I just have like clumsy hands, but twice I have spilled my embossing powder. So I'm going to have to put embossing powder on my order for September 6th because, like I said, I only have a little bit left. I've almost spilled all of it, and shame on me. I'm usually pretty good about that. I don't know what got into me lately. Oh well, I still have enough to get through today's video and finish the rest of my swaps. But there you can see that Versamark is just a clear sticky ink. I'm going to hang on to that with my tweezers here, and these are reverse tweezers, so they hold on pretty good. And then I'm going to just pick up that embossing powder in my little tray here, tap it off, and now that I used that embossing buddy, I don't have many, I have a little straggler over here and some here, and then I do want to make sure that there's no embossing powder under my tweezers. Get all that excess off there. Okay, now we're good to go. Then I'm going to turn on my heat gun. Now my heat gun is in what I call a holster here at my side, but I want to make sure it gets warm first. So I'm going to turn my heat gun, kind of clean up my mess here, let my heat gun get warm, and then bring that in and just melt that embossing powder back onto the paper. I'm going to do the back side so it doesn't quite warp my paper. There you go, and you can see how when that plastic becomes shiny or back to plastic rather than shavings again, you're all done. So there we go. Now we have a pretty little tag right there, whoop, for our card when it's ready. Yay! Okay, I'll set that aside so I don't lose it. Now, one more thing. So we need this little bow here. I'm going to actually bring in my bow maker, and I'm going to bring in some of this gold and silver trim. Now this is not in the catalog either. This is our online exclusives. So if you're on Stampin's website, you can search on the sidebar. It has online exclusives there, and you can see everything that's not in a catalog. It's easy to find. So I'm going to just quickly tie, and this doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be under that tag, so we just want something that fits there. And it would be just as easy to tie without the bow maker if you don't have a bow maker. Okay, here's a good one. Right there, so that looks pretty good. Now we have our bow, we have our tag, or our label. Let's go ahead and start with the blending and make our little flower with the stencils. So I'm going to bring in a piece of scratch paper. Hang on, I don't know if you can see, my cat is now passing by. He came out of the window, which, anyway, probably got warm in there. Okay, so I'm going to just start with a piece of scratch paper and that number 1 mask, which is this one right here. Can you see that little, nope, number 1? I'm going to lay it on my, no, I'm not. First, beg your pardon, I want to bring in my cardstock. So this is just a piece 5 1/4 by 4, just a layer. It can be really any size, it doesn't matter. I'm going to use my removable adhesive. Now this is not sold at my online store. I found this on Amazon. I'll be sure and put the link in the description if you don't have any removable adhesive. I use it all the time for something like this. And now I'll tell you, today I'm going to make 2 cards because I want to show you how the ink and the blender pens and the masks kind of work together, and so with 2 cards would be a better demonstration, just the one. So that's why I'm going to do these few extra steps. I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to do the corners of my cardstock. This is so I'll know where the next piece goes for when I do my second card. And now I used pencil because in case I happen to get some on my paper, I could just erase it and I would be good to go. So there we go. I have the corners, if you can see now. Let me where my cardstock goes. So now when I put the next piece on there, I'll be ready. So now with my mask, I have something on the back of my mask, but I guess it doesn't matter, it's on the back. I'm going to kind of line it up where I want it. So you can see it's tilted. It doesn't have to be square to the designer or the background or even to the paper that we're going on. The cardstock, I should call it, but I like it right there. I'm also going to put my leaves and make sure that I like where my leaves are. See how this one hangs off and there's a lot of leaf here? So I'm going to pick the whole thing up and just move it a tad this way. So I like that better. So now I'm going to take a pin, because this time I want it a little bit darker, and if I get pin on my mask, I really don't care. So I'm going to take the corner here and just draw around the corner, make sure I get that notch in there, like this. And then I can lay my mask down again exactly where I want it. Okay, so I'm going to move this. I'm going to use that removable adhesive again and just put a little bit in this corner where I know the mask would be, and that way it's going to help me to hold my mask in place. Okay, so let's set him back up there in that corner. I might get my head in the video a couple times today. We'll see what happens. But set him like there. Push down a little pressure so now nothing moves when I go to mask. Yay! I'm going to start with a little bit of crushed curry. Okay, now I repeated myself several times. I've told you I've done a bunch of these cards, so my blender brushes have a lot of ink in them. I didn't clean them yet. Now when I'm all done, I'll go take them to the sink and a bar of soap and scrub the bar of soap and clean them off. And then I have this other tool, I think it's called a makeup brush cleaner. I'll use that to get them clean, and then I use them over and over in different colors. But I knew I was going to do the video, and I still have some more swaps to make, so I didn't get them clean. But they have lots of ink in them now, just so you know. So I'm going to tap here because I don't want the color, you know, those splotchy colors on my flower. And then I'm going to start in the center here. This is kind of nice about these flowers, so you don't get that splotchy. And this way, the center of my flower will be, hold on, I can't do two things at once, be a little bit darker than the edges. And look how pretty that is already. So let's go ahead and do the second, or the middle flower here, middle to biggest size, I guess you call it. And get that one, look how pretty. And then this one, same thing, I'm going to start in the center and just get that little flower here. And now we have a really pretty start. Okay, so before I move my mask now, I'm going to put that ink away, and I'm going to bring in some Cajun Craze. Now, Cajun Craze is a really dark, vibrant ink, so I don't want that brush. I have another brush for Cajun Craze. And I'm using mini brushes. Now, for the flowers, because I want to keep it under control, that's why I'm going to use the mini brushes. So here again in the center, I'm going to start here in the center. Woo, and it got a lot out there. And just, I should have got more off my brush, dang it. This one's going to be dark. You know, in fact, I might not use this one. I might start over in the back. But for demonstration-wise, make sure you practice here and get a lot of ink off of there. Doggone it, that's embarrassing I did that. Because there's so much ink, yep, see in my brush. I shouldn't have done any ink on the brush. I should have just went for the, oh well, I'll show you what not to do. Okay, so let's see if it looks that bad, because I can lift up my mask a little bit. Ooh, it's going to be vibrant and dark. It's going to be a little bit different than the other samples I have to show you, but it's going to work. So let's go ahead and take this one, this stencil off. Now, since I put my removable adhesive on the paper, it really doesn't stick to your mask. I'm going to use this again, so I'm going to just set it aside. I'm not going to clean it yet, but I'm going to bring in those leaves, or number 2. I'm going to line it up the same way. The adhesive is still on my paper, so I'm going to stick it down here, and there again, now it doesn't move. I only have 3 of the mini brushes, so I have to use a bigger brush for this part. And where is my, here it is, my Mossy Meadow ink. And again, that's another dark color this time. Let's see if we, no, I need to pick up some ink, I should have. But Mossy Meadow is another dark color that I'm going to just dink right there. Take a little bit off of here. And then we get that pretty leaf on our card. There we go. So now we have the leaves. take that off. I'm not going to bother to clean that quite yet because we're going to do some more. And then the last color I'm going to bring in for the center is that new pecan pie, which is a really pretty brown color. And there again, I'm going to take my mask number 3. I'm going to line it up where it goes here. I'm also on this one going to kind of look at the center of my flowers to make sure it's where I like it. A little pressure here, got that blending brush, pick up some ink, tap here, and then just go straight to the center here. And this one, I really might even want to tap and get some texture on there and make the center of my flowers not quite so smooth. Just a little bit of, there we go, texture on there. And then look how pretty, well, if I can get that mask off, how pretty they are now. Nice. Okay, one more step. So this is step number 4. This is going to put just some texture on there. And to be honest with you, at first I didn't like this step with the stamping. Now I'm making sure that I'm lining up here too and trying to get it here, but here is really more important, so make sure it looks good that way. And then I'm going to do this very lightly and just a little bit to get a little bit more color on there. Now when you first do it, let's see how it looks. I'm going to sneak a peek in there. Yeah, when you first do it, it looks like that. And then as it dries, it seems to get a lot lighter with the second step. Okay, so let's go ahead real quick now and start over and do one more card front so I can show you how that Cajun craze effect works if you do a bunch of these. So I'm going to line up my card here again with those corners that I drew. The adhesive's on the paper, so it's going to stick. And there's not, well, there's a little bit of adhesive on here, but not much that I can't erase later, which I'll show you that too. We're going to come back with that mask. Where did I put it? Number 1. Oh, here, it's right here in front of my face. I'm going to lay that down in that notch, right? Make sure I like it where it's on my paper. Press it down so it's stuck. Again, with that yellow ink, which is crushed curry, I'm going to pick up some ink here. I'm going to tap off here and get rid of some of it. But watch, because now there's orange, or that Cajun craze is already on this. Now the ink won't stick to your mask, so you have to be careful. And like I said, I've done a bunch of these, so it doesn't tend to hurt my ink pad. It doesn't get my contamination of my colors, if that makes any sense. But it's going to bring that orange from the center of my flower onto my cardstock. So if you don't like it this way, I guess my whole point is make sure you clean your masks between flowers. I do like it this way because look how pretty and subtle that's going to be now. And I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to there and get lots of pretty, there we go, look how pretty that is. Let's do the same thing to this. And again, I'm starting with that center on the center part here, so it's a little bit darker in the center and lighter as we go out. Now watch, this one's going to be a lot prettier, or I think, than this dark one where I got too much Cajun craze there. And like I said, I'll probably turn this one over and do it again because I'm not going to like that. But like I said, I'll teach you what not to do more than what I'll teach you to do. Okay, last one, I'm going to start in the center and work my way out. Make sure I get that nice yellow color and that orange color. And now, you ready for a drum roll? Look how pretty that is that way. Okay, let's hurry and finish this one up, like I said, so I can make 2 of them. Place my mask again, press down in the corner, bring in some green ink. Color up those leaves a little bit. Now when you do your leaf, I just want to remind you, make sure that you don't miss little corners here and little corners there. So when you take your mask off, although I think I just moved my mask. Nope, I didn't. It still looks really good. But you got to make sure you get those little corners when you're doing your blending. Or your blending with your blending brushes. We don't need Cajun craze because we already had it on there. We just need the pecan pie and do that center piece here. I think masking is one of the prettiest, especially the layer masking like this. This is one of the prettiest techniques when it comes to stamping. I like the nice subtle look of it, the soft. Just tap a little bit some texture in there. Okay, and then last, we'll go ahead and bring in that last part. Or that last step, I should call it. Get that lined up good. You can see how I'm lining up here on my paper, and I'm not even going to use any more ink. I'm just going to ink that up with what's on there. Well, no, there wasn't enough. Let's get some more on there. Well, shoot. Get that off. Okay, there we go. And now we have a really pretty card front like that. Okay, so I have decided I am going to just scratch this one. I'll go and do this one over again. Next time, be a little careful with that Cajun craze, maybe not ink it up again. But I'll just show you how to do the one card like this. Now, I do want to tell you that when it's time to clean your masks, I just take them into the sink and run some warm water on there. If you do use Versamark like I did on that bear card that I showed you here real quick, I had Versamark on here. Now, like I said, Versamark's a really sticky ink, and warm water wouldn't have cleaned that off. I suggest you take an old Stampin' scrub and you cut it up, or use your Stampin' scrub. This soft like this didn't hurt my masks at all. When I tried to clean it with a baby wipe, the baby wipe got stuck on those fine details, especially when you're using that snowflake mask. So just be careful, be aware that when you're cleaning your masks, not to rub and get those fine little points and tips and stuff like that. You don't want to bend them. Okay, so I will clean everything later. Let's go on. So look, this is what your cardstock will look like. This is what it looks like when you do a bunch of them, or I should say scrap paper. And really, let me real quick, I know you're like, oh brother Kathy, but I want to put a really pretty flower right here on the inside. So this won't take long. I'm not even going to ink up my brushes. I think I'm going to put a medium-sized flower on there. Take that yellow. I'm going to just hold it. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of orange in there in the circle. Try not to get too much. Let's see what that looks like. Yep, that'll work. And then let's take that center, just so I can bring that front into the inside. And this is if you want to do something like this. Look, I didn't even have to use the notches to get it all lined up. I think it's just as easy this way too. A little brown in the center. You could also do this to your envelope and decorate your envelope, but look how fun and fast those masks can also be. Now the inside of my card is done too. All right, let's put everything together. So I'm going to go ahead and fold. This is a piece 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I'm going to, this is thick basic white. I like the thick basic white for my card bases. It just gives it a little bit more girth. It's a little bit stronger. Yeah, look how pretty. Okay, sorry. Squirrel. Let's take this piece though. This piece needs a little bit of texture on it. So I'm going to use that time-worn Time 3D embossing folder. Try to say that fast 4 times. So I'm going to bring in my die cut machine here. I'm going to put platform number 1. Let me show you something real quick though I think is very important. When you're die cut, or when you're, embossing, you want to make sure, because I've already stamped on my cardstock, I want to make sure that the embossing is the correct way with the stamping, if that makes sense. I don't want to emboss the back, is what I'm trying to say. So when you're embossing, make sure you can see the Stampin' Up logo and your stamping at the same time when you close your folder. So when you see it like this, this is how you know you're putting it into your die cut machine the right way. Okay, so I got my platform number 1. I have my paper in my embossing folder. This is a 3D. So then I'm going to use platform number 4. Run that through. And now look how pretty that piece is with that embossing on there. Alrighty, let's throw our card together. I'm going to take some dimensionals here and put them on the back. Make sure my card opens the right way. Yep, it does. Lay this right on here. Lay that down. Pretty. And then with our tag that I laid here and the bow that we tied, I want my bow to go this way. So I'm going to use a strong adhesive. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Seal Plus, and I'm going to lay some tape right here along the same place, and then just lay my bow, and I want to lay it loop side up. Hope that makes sense. And you know what? No, I don't. I want it this way. I put my adhesive on the wrong side. It's going to work, but should have went that way. I do that every time too. I don't know why I can't seem to get my adhesive the right way the first time. But look how pretty. Make sure my loops are happy where I can see them all. There we go. So now I have my bow on the back side. I'm going to put some dimensionals. Make sure my adhesive doesn't show on the front. I'm going to cover up that extra adhesive with the dimensional so it doesn't stick to my card. I want it to have some pop here and give room for that ribbon under my sentiment or label. And then I'm going to line this up with this edge here. Let's see if there's any flaws in my blending brush. I don't really. I think every flower looks really good. Sometimes you have to cover up your flaws with your tag like that. And I think I want this to be a little bit more slanted. There we go. So I don't have to worry about where I put it. I'm going to just stick it down right there. And there you go. Just like that. Look how pretty. Now, sending hugs, I would even put happy birthday on the inside and say something about here's some birthday hug. I think this card could be if you're not feeling well, if you have an anniversary, if you're thinking of someone. I like the sentiment sending hugs. Alrighty, I think that's all I have. If you have any questions, be sure and leave them in the comments below. Also, you can see a list of products on my blog, becreativewithkathy.com. The link will be below. There'll also be the measurements and the supply list. If you want any of those supplies, you just click on the link there and it'll take you straight to my online store. Alrighty, have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.